Welcome to A11Y Insights. I'm Eugene Wu. I'm the CEO of Venngage. And for those of you who don't know, Venngage is an accessible version of a design tool, very similar to Canva or Adobe. But unlike those other tools, Venngage has built-in accessibility features, such as exporting your designs into accessible formats like PDF UA. Right, enough about the plug. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Luis Mauch, the founder and director of Beplay. Beplay is a web app that makes event communications accessible. When I mean events, it could be things like a Broadway show, the Olympics, or company events. The Beplay app transmits audio descriptions, subtitles, sign language, and translations real-time directly to smartphones, tablets, or computers for anyone who needs it. So welcome very much, Luis, to the podcast.
Hello, Eugene. Thank you. Thank you for this invitation. It's my pleasure being with you this time.
Oh, thanks. So let's get started. Tell us about your story. How did you come up with Beplay? Tell us how you got started with this application.
Okay, so I'm working at the disability field and working with accessibility and inclusion at the last 20 years. So during this process, I've been the co-founder of different engagement and structures like ONGs, other companies. But in the end, I'm passionate about accessibility, assistive technologies, and how technology can help and support everybody. So we started mostly using this kind of situation in the movie theaters here in Brazil. We did the first accessible and inclusive session of movie theaters. Since that, we realized that this concept of second screen, companion device could be something really interesting for accessibility, because it can give you the freedom to choose wherever resources do you want. If I need audio description, I can choose it. If I want like subtitle or sign language. So we really like about that. And Beplay was created during the pandemic because we are already used to work a lot with accessible content for media, for cinemas and cultural events, corporations, all stuff. But during the pandemics, everything just stopped, yeah. We did our first MVP during the Olympic Games here in Brazil and Paralympic Games. Right. So we did a television transmission with this accessible content. And then we realized that was the real time and the good time to launch what we believe that could be and spread and get more scalable the accessible resources, yeah? Because in the end of the day, we know that sometimes producing and doing accessibility can be hard and can be expensive because we are working a lot with different kind of things, but in the end, it must be simple, yeah?
Yep.
And I've always wanted to change a little bit this game, you know, how we can do it more simple, how we can do it more cheap, how we can reach much more users and contribute really significantly for the access of everybody, you know.
Very, very cool. So tell us how, I know you mentioned a little bit about the second screen and how, you know, you can transmit accessible content onto the second screen. You were showing me a little bit about how that app worked, you know, like about 5 minutes before. I think it would be great for you just to explain show us a little bit about the app, how Beplay actually works.
Yes, okay. So we have like a professional networks that we are creating some capacity building for them and we elect them. In the other side, we have the companies or our customers that need accessible content. And in the other side, we have our end user, that is persons with disability or wherever everybody, if just want to access content with audio description that is really interesting or captioning or stuff, yeah. What we do, we transmit the accessible content. So like I told you, we started in the beginning of the pandemic when the pandemic just started. And no platform had accessible tools. For example, Zoom, they didn't have anything. Meet, Teams, no one they had it. So what we did is to create a really easy thing to be compatible with all technologies, so interchangeable, you know. So we just create like a link, and you can choose the link of the different resources you want, like the audio description or translation for Portuguese, for example, and you choose it, and it open another part in your computer, another window, or you can be watching this live at your computer and receiving the accessibility at your mobile phone. So that's these are the concept of companion device or this second screen, because in this case we don't need to integrate with any different technology. You just can click in our link and you receive it. And it was made to be really easy to use, really friendly, and we also really like to think about a little bit universal design. So Beplay, it's a tool that is not made only for persons with disability, but everybody can use it, because we have in some events translations, we have captioning that helps a lot. Even our description sometimes can help someone that have some difficulty to understand or to pay attention, or some elderly, so that's how it works. And we can provide like remotely content for different venues, for television, so it's really flexible to use.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned universal design. Obviously, we are here at Venngage, we're big fans of universal design, and we understand that a lot of things, a lot of user experiences that are designed well. When they're designed well, it's not just for people with disabilities, but for everyone, right? And I think a good example you use is when I watch like Netflix or just normal TV, I put the subtitles almost all the time. 99% of the time I have subtitles because my house is kind of noisy. So I have children and my house is always very noisy. And so I like to just have the subtitles and so I can read it. And your technology actually provides that for movie theaters, for other things outside of the home, which I think is great. Yeah, it's a very interesting technology.
Yeah. We really work to give more possibilities and access to everybody, for example, from cultural venues. So we did a lot of plays. So we do a lot of musical from Broadway's and off Broadway's musical. So because before that, if someone that is blind would watch a play, they would understand completely, fully, because they will lose all the images and what are the actual expressions and all things. Because in theater, it's like that. Someone just have to look at you, and if you can see it, you understand what's happening. But if you cannot, you're going to have a lack of comprehensive and lack of content in the end. So that's why we believe that it's really important. And not only in cultural, but in the end, you get access for information. For example, with some sports games, we had noticed that some deaf guys that never had sign language in some sports transmission, they didn't realize that they have someone talking all the time during some sports transmission.
Okay.
Because they didn't know about that. They just could look and watch at it, but they couldn't understand what was happening. And they could even know that someone was talking all the time. So this is kind of thing that it's always surprises, even before all this time working with accessibility and persons really close with persons with disability, you realize that there are some things. We receive some feedbacks from some blind persons. They say that, okay, we just understand how we miss a lot when we have the audio description, because otherwise we think that we are not missing a lot because it was always like that. And then when you receive the properly audio description, they say, oh my God, that is a lot of visual things happening during all the time, and we can have any kind of idea about that.
Wow, that's a very good reminder that we take a lot of those things for granted. Like watching, if you watch a soccer or football match, there is commentators are talking all the time, and it's a big part of the game. But if you're deaf or hearing impaired, you wouldn't know unless you had like subtitles or transcriptions or something like that. So that's very interesting. So I know you worked with the FIFA World Cup. So tell us a little bit about what you provided. Was it the one in Rio, or is that also the World Cup in The most recent one in was it in Dubai
Yeah,
or UAE? Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, what we did in World Cup here, we did here in Brazil, we did the accessibility of the television broadcast. So we have like a really important partner that is Claro. Claro
Right.
is América Móvil, is one major telecom company, and they provide TV cable here in Brazil, cable TV. And then we had a partnership with Claro and also Sport TV, that is the main sport channels from Global Television, that is the major television in Brazil. And what we did that we provide the accessibility for the Brazilian game. Do you know that here in Brazil, we are just a big fan of
Right, of
football?
course.
And then this cable TV create a special channel, and then you can reach our service through a QR code at the screen. And then we did it live. We were in our studios watching the television at the same time that every customers are doing this.
Right.
And we delivered in real time the audio description, the signed language,
Okay.
and the captioning. And some interesting things that, for example, for the audio description, we have hired some from blind consultants that they used to play football for the Paralympics, for example. So
Oh, okay.
they were not just a fan, a blind that become visible, but they were really a football players, you know.
Right.
And the same we did with deaf. So we have like a deaf consultant because it was the first time that a soccer player was transmitted in sign language
Sorry.
in Brazil. So sometimes they didn't have signals for the name of the players. Sometimes they didn't have signals for some words or some game
Right.
strategies, you know. And it was really, really interesting. Really, really interesting.
Right. So were they? So it's not like you said, sign language during a football game it was not very common. So were they sort of they had to develop some new signs to describe the game?
Yes, have to develop and sometimes have to search with the deaf community in real
Right.
time. So this consultant saying for some groups, look, how I can say better, please send me a signal that you believe that
Right. Right.
you know. So it was
Okay.
like really, really crazy.
Okay.
And we have noticed that it was the first time at all in the world that we have the three different resources, accessible resources like audio
Okay.
description, sign language, and captioning in a broadcast
Okay.
from World Cup, you know. So it was really,
Okay.
really innovative as well.
Okay. Very cool. So you actually have a studio with people. Sort of. I guess you have to. It's all live. Which.
Yeah,
Uh,
we what we do is we have like our own studios. It's not like, you know, a Hollywood studio. When you say that, it looks like really, really cool, you know, really
yeah.
fancy, but it's not like that. But it's for sure it's really important. So we have these studios, and sometimes we transmit, the professionals came to our place and we transmit from there. But
Okay.
mostly we can use, and professionals can work from their own home, you know.
Home.
So
Okay.
this is
Right.
something cool because in the end we are creating some job opportunities for those who
Right.
are interpreter or audio scripters, and even persons with disability that work with us like consultant, and they can work in their home sometimes. For sure, we have like a minimum uh, uh, conditions that they need to have, like from internet, like, you know, the some
Right.
equipments, but it's something that it's really, really cool because in the end we can create this network that can
Right.
work in places, and sometimes Brazil, it's a huge country, it's a continental country, so sometimes in northeast or some places, you cannot find some professionals from audio description and sign language, you
Right.
know. So in the end, we can provide the service like remotely from even different places and remotely places.
Very cool. And I know you're working right now, like the Olympics. You know, the Olympics was just over, and now the Paralympics, as we're speaking, the Paralympics is going on right now. Tell us a little bit about how Beplay is involved in the Olympics and in the Paralympics TV broadcast in Brazil.
Okay, great. We are, after this, we actually, in our history, we did the first time in 2016, like I told you, this MVP
Yeah, the
from
Rio Olympics. Yeah.
in Rio. And after that, we did another one in Paralympics, Tokyo Paralympics.
Right.
But we did just the open ceremony. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And after that, it was a growing process. We did like the World Cup, the Men World Cup, and then females World Cups. And then right now we did every day, because in the end, we are talking that is really important. You have like a systematic programmation, or, every day you can have something
Right.
to watch. Otherwise, you never know the client and the customer, they never know when they can reach it. So what we did in Olympics and we're doing right now in Paralympics, and I think in 5 minutes we're going to start some transmissions. Yeah, we did the same: the audio description, the sign language, and audio in the captioning. But the difference is that we have like every day transmission, like 3-4 hours transmitting this content. And in the end, it's really interesting because you need to prepare, because it's live, so it's hard. You need to describe. It's even, especially for an open ceremony, that you have sports, you have cultural, you have some performance, and it's a completely secret what's going to happen. Yeah, this we always, sometimes we receive the media book from the open ceremonies like 13 minutes before it starts, sometimes one day before, so we can reach and have this content. But this is what we are doing during the Olympics and Paralympics. And right now it's interesting because Brazil, it's really important player in the Paralympics. Right now we are in the 3rd place of the medal. Wow. And it's getting more popular here. So we realize that our audience, if you compare the Olympics and Paralympics, it's not that different, and this is much different when you compare like the televisions. So the Olympics are you have a bigger audience than even the kind of. But it's been really interesting, and we are receiving really good feedback from some users. We had opportunity to spread even for some athletes that are competing with the Brazilian team in Paris. And they say, oh, really cool, I'm listening here the audio description. Yeah, I am a goalball player, and I'm listening the other game with audio description. It's really interesting. And he was even watching at the television, but they could realize what was happening only with the audio description,
Got it. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So yeah, it's always great when, to develop the product and to see your product used by people, right? That's, I think that must be very satisfying, like to have an impact like that.
Yes, because that's why we are doing this, and I really love to work really close from person with disability, receiving their feedbacks, and always trying to give the best product that we can,
Okay.
And for sure, how it is to develop it. It's not easy, and we are always wanting the next phase, the next stage, always looking forward. But sometimes we need to settle down and understand that, okay, if we have like just one button, that's the miracle. Yeah.
Right.
So that's
so that kind of, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was going to ask you, what is your next step? What are you, what's the vision, the bigger vision, and what's the next step of Beplay?
Yeah, our bigger vision is to be like a really important platform. I want to create this platform that mix the professionals. We help to develop them and create this capacity building, but at the same time start to use some AI tools to help the process to get more scalability and also look at it, but really be like a massive platform that everybody can use it, really easy to use, and use this kind of technology also to spread importance of accessibility of this audio description, sign language, and captioning, and easy lecture and translations. I really believe that. And right now we are trying to use also in the open televisions and use more like for TV, because we are mostly use this in events, in some venues, some theaters, but we are focus more how to use it in television as well. So this is our main vision. Yeah, I know it's
okay.
In the end, it's okay how we can provide accessible content and completely understand for comprehensive for all. That's what we really focus.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big vision. Does your app use AI right now? You mentioned AI, and if does it use AI? And if it does, like, how are you planning on using AI if you haven't used it yet?
Yeah, we are starting to use with captioning, because we're still using some professionals that they're doing. Sometimes we do with the professionals. Sometimes we use automatically caption. I believe that we had the first Portuguese AI captioning here in Brazil like 5 years ago, and we're developing this since there. Right now, it's much easiest. And what we are planning is how we can combine, because I believe that soon we're gonna have like a good tool, like for example, Be My Eyes, that you can use for describe pictures or some live image. But in the end, some events like television, it's really complex, and it's a lot of image, like a movie. I think that's gonna take some time to have a tool that will do it completely. For sure, we're gonna have it, but it'll take some time. And our idea is how we can use AI to help persons to construct and build more accessible content, So how this can take less time, less money, and this is what we are using. And also we use some audio fingerprint recognitions that can work in synchronized, because one thing that it's hard, it's because it synchronize the content, For example, for television and broadcast, we have different latency, and we work with low latency or almost no latency. And so the open television, you have one time, the TV cable 5-10 seconds after, the internet 13 seconds, So we are always looking how we can control. It's something, it's how could I say, how we can control the time, in the end is that. But that's it. If you want to listen, we just started the audio system. I'm not sure you can listen.
Yeah, I can hear it. Tell us what is this transmission about? Is this the Paralympics?
Yes, it's the Paralympics. I think because she doesn't talk all the time. She just complements some visual information.
Got it.
And when she started again, I can put here and show you. But right now we are doing live for it's Go Ball, and sometimes the TV change for 5 football, So this is another.
Em cima da piscina, há 2 varas que seguram bandeirinhas nas cores azul escuro, azul claro e rosa.
Can you listen?
Yes.
She said that in the swimming pool there are 2
detalhe,
flags,
o vencedor da prova.
one pink, one blue.
Ele é homem de pele clara, tem as sobrancelhas grossas e pretas, usa uma touca branca e calção vermelho com detalhes também em branco.
He's a man with white skin, so she's describing this visual information.
O vencedor está na raia 4.
The winner is
Os outros 2 estão na raia 3 e na raia 5.
3 and 5. Try to translate.
Yeah, this is live. This is a swimming event, I take it.
Yeah, it's a swimming event that they are broadcasting right now. So this is what happened. We prepare to transmit, for example, the Go Ball. When we study, look the name of the athletes, describe them previously, create like a
Uma mulher com uma canga presa no pescoço do Brasil.
And right now she say in Go Ball because they changed. They were in the swimming, and right now is Go Ball. Yeah. And in Go Ball, there is a woman with the Brazilian flag, because this is something that television show, because it's a Brazilian game. So she's describing it. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. That was an example of the Beplay app live describing the Paralympics. That's just great. I love it. You also showed me, I think you showed me a Broadway, so that's pretty interesting too. Can you show us the screen again, like how you provide alternative, audio descriptions, transcriptions, and also sign language for Broadway shows. Yeah, that was, I think our audience might, they probably recognize some of those shows. They're pretty popular shows.
Yeah. For example, this is the application. So we have different, you can choose from events, from theater or musical. So we right now we are they are not happening live right now because of the time, but we are working with Legally Blonde. It's a Broadway, and also with Elvis Presley, Musical Revolution. And 3 days before, we are doing Priscilla, the Queen of Desert,
Yeah. I know those shows.
And here the client can choose the content, and then we have like the sign language, the audio description. Sometimes we have the captioning, and what we do is sometimes we work live, but sometimes we have pre-recorded content because the musical they are really precisely, so we can synchronize this. We use some techniques that we can synchronize this content, and then we don't need to have because sometimes you have like 5-6 persons working for a transmission, so this is really interesting because we get like a much lower cost, and it gets viable, and then we can do all the sessions. We are doing all sessions. So this is the idea. You don't need to choose, I have Sunday morning accessible from this play or that. What we want is to create like, okay, someone with disability can go when they want and wherever they want. Our first experience in this, Eugene, was we did like the Phantom of the Opera when they performed here in Brazil, and we got more than almost 500 sessions during 1 year and a half. And we are getting good numbers. For example, this last month we transmit almost 400 hours of content. And this is only mostly in our region that we are working in Brazil. And that's what we want, we want that we can make like 400,000 hours.
And just to clarify, for the users, for the clients, it's free, right? It's all of this is free.
Yes.
They don't have to pay for it, right?
They don't have to pay for that. Our business model is focused in companies that need to provide the content, because we believe that you don't have to pay more for have completely comprehensive of the content. It's, imagine if I am a person with disability and want to read a contract, okay, you need to pay me $10 more. I need to get it accessible. That's the main idea, because in the end we have some legislations here in Brazil that are starting to oblige these. So you have this legal enforcement and in the whole world. But I've always said that it's not a matter of rights. Persons, they have the right to have access of content, access of everything, But it's always a matter of market as well, because we have a lot of persons with disability or persons that are getting older, and they can have a better comprehension from everything, And that's what we really focus.
I think one of the most misunderstood things is that people often say, the market is very small, like there's only a few people using it, but the reality is that it's a very large market or population, I would say, very large population who are either disabled or who are aging, and they need accessible content. They need the content to be a lot more accessible than the status quo.
And I think that our challenge, Eugene, those who work with accessibility or like that, is to show that accessibility is not only for persons with disability. When I started, I used to say that I work with persons with disability, with inclusion. But right now I understand that I work with accessibility, and accessibility is the main key to get inclusion of persons with disability, but everybody can use it. And why not? I've always say about that. And main is, I think that because we still have some prejudice, with persons with disability. They say, I'm not going to use this because this is not for me. This is for those who need that, So the main population, the communities, they have this kind of prejudice yet. we also we can face sometimes like ableism, oh, sometimes it happens. Whoa, but someone that is blind goes to a theater, but why if they doesn't look at, they cannot see?
Right.
And say, yeah, but it's a whole experience. We are not only there to see. You are there because it's a whole experience. It's a music. You can have your family together. You can bring your friends. You can have like a sweet, a coffee before that, or a beer. It's life. You need to live your life, and that's why I really believe that this is one challenge that we have, that is to prove that accessibility is for all. Not only universal design, but also accessibility. We design it for everybody.
Yeah, that's a great philosophy. That's a great way to see it. Oh gosh, I had a question. I forgot. I was gonna ask you something and then I forgot. All right, never mind. It's not important.
No problem.
Yeah. Maybe I should ask you. Is there something I should have asked you that I haven't asked you yet? Like something you want to show us, something that, that's very important that I haven't asked you.
I don't know. What do you believe your audience would like to? We can talk a little bit about that, for as the same.
Yeah, I think actually you covered a lot of really good content. Maybe examples of, like, I think the example you gave about the example about the Paralympian using your app, like, and I think those are great. Like, or people, deaf people who were deaf, who didn't know that in the football game they were, there's a lot of talking going on, like stuff like that we take for granted.
Yeah,
that we take for granted, like things like that. Like I don't even think about it, but if you can't hear, yeah, it's a big deal. You don't know there's people talking on the TV, right? On a football game, you're just watching. You may just think, oh, it's just the sound of the ball getting kicked, right? There's no commentating. Now those are great. Those are great, like, insights. I love that. Yeah. So if you have any more, sure. But if not, that's fine.
Yeah. No. Well, we had some different experience as well. Some interesting experience. We are doing, for example, some audio guide tours with audio description, some live tours. For example, we did here in Brazil for Netflix. We did the Tudum, that is their global event, that they launch their series and movies, all the stuff. So we provide the whole accessibility for this event.
Oh, wow.
And one really interesting thing that we did was we invited persons with disability, blind, for example. So we use Beplay during their visitation. So we have the audio descriptor that tells everything that was happening in the event and the experience that they can use and how they can play. And also we have some touch resources that they can touch at the stands and the booths, all the things that they could touch it. And it was really interesting because some person, they say, oh, I feel like, because someone is blind, and they create this booth, this experience that everybody could feel like inside of the movie,
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we have this great feedback from some users that say, well, I really could feel me inside of the movie because I could touch everything. They were telling me what is happening. I have a bar with Braille with Braille menu. And, so I really could feel me like I was at the movie. And this is what it matters, because, okay, we have this equiparation, of opportunities. They could do the same thing. They could be in the same place and could feel it and have this great experience. Yeah. Another interesting thing we did this year, in the beginning of this year, we did the audio description for the first time here in Brazil of tennis play, so we went here in Brazil. We have the Rio Open, like US Open, we have it's not like Grand Slam like US Open, but it's it's one of the 500 ATP 500,
right?
And then we auto describe. But in this situation, we was at the venue at in the front of the court, and we need to describe, and also I think I'm not going to have this word in English, but we did the both plays that we need to talk about the game and also describe the game, So it was something that is an audio description that is like a locutation. Yes, I can say about that. You can understand. Yeah. So we give both things together, and they really like it. They really like it. The blinds, they really like it. They say, "Oh, that's really cool, really, really interesting." And he's saying there is memories that because in Brazil we had a really famous player in the 90s, and they say, when I was child, I used to watch the Guga Curtin games, and right now I'm here and I can feel it and I can understand. It's really cool, really nice.
Right.
So this kind of feedbacks are what makes sometimes it's not easy to be an entrepreneur. It's not easy to develop. Yeah. We had a lot of challenge and a lot of things, and you say, "Oh my God, why I'm doing this? Why?" And then you realize that okay, we are doing this because we are helping people. We are doing our job. We are earning some money, but we are helping people as well. We are changing their lives. Another good, really interesting feedback, someone that was deaf but could read, because here in Brazil, we have some deaf that they cannot read. They use the sign language, and another one that can. So we use the subtitle. And she said that, now after 20 years that I'm deaf, I understand why the hearing guys love theaters. Because I really understand the text. I really understand how interesting it is, how nice, what is happening. So for the first time, I have this sensation and this experience that how theater can be interesting, how a play can be interesting.
Yeah, it's like another layer of communication. If you're just seeing sign language and now you have the transcription, I can see how that would be, very different.
And right now we are doing some tests to transmit the original audio for example, hearing aids with Bluetooth. And then because here in Brazil, FM loops, they are not really common, the loops for hearing when you use hearing aids. So now we are using this and also trying to understand how we can sometimes integrate the transmissions and use it at the same. But we did a lot of shows, like big shows, and we did a lot of live transmissions during the pandemic. So it was when we started. And it's really, really cool and it's really interesting. And I think that we always have this challenge, to create something different, a new tool, a new feature, you know how it is.
Yeah. I mean, are you a product guy? Like, are you an engineer / product person? I think, I am. So I like to create products. If you are, I can totally understand. Yeah.
Actually, I am more a designer,
You're a designer,
because I don't write the programs, but I design it, the ideas and the product, and then I give it to my team, and they can create it.
Right. But you are a product guy. You are leading the product vision and the product the UX and all of that stuff. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So this has been a fascinating conversation, Luis. I'm really glad I got to talk to you. I learned a lot today, to be honest. Obviously I didn't know a lot about live transmissions and Beplay. So this has been really, really fascinating. So thank you very much for sharing with us your experience and your application. And I think the technology is great. So if somebody wants to learn more about you and your app, how do they reach out to you? I know, we'll share some of the links, but tell people how they can reach out to you.
Yeah, our website is beplay.io, and the application is app.beplay.io.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah, it's very, very simple.
And we have our Instagram, our LinkedIn. Yes, you can look at Beplay. You're gonna find us.
Very cool. So
or Beplay
once again, thank you very much, Luis. It was a pleasure.